Oh, peace and love, family. Nature talks. Nature walks, nature talks. Yo, say what up. Say what up. Say what up, say what up. Alright. Oh, hold on. What are you gonna talk about today? Oh, Dragonfly's back. What are you gonna talk about today? So many things to talk about. Get back in tune first. First and foremost, get back in tune with nature. Right? All that other stuff is for the birds. Get back in tune with what's you. This is me. Look at this. Look how beautiful this is. Right? Get back in tune with you. So beautiful. Nature is so beautiful. So yesterday I was talking about, again, loving yourself. Oh, dragonfly. How beautiful. Anyway, yesterday, I was talking about getting in tune. Get in tune with yourself. Love yourself, right? But while in the midst of the conversation, look at this. It's beautiful. While in the midst of the conversation, I started talking about expectations. Expectations. And I kind of wanted to talk more about that today. Right? First, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Expectations. What's wrong with expectations? A good amount of stuff. A good amount of things are wrong with expectations. Why? Why is expectations a bad thing? Isn't it okay to expect certain things from certain people or expect certain things out of certain situations? Aren't these things okay? Right? Aren't these things okay? Get grounded. Sarang life. Sarang life. Aren't these things okay? Expectations. Remember, life is a journey. It's a path, right? So, again, like you're walking in a field, like you're walking in the woods, right? While you're walking in the woods, while you're walking in the field, right? There's a certain point where it's going to hinder you to really narrow your vision. Right? While you're walking in the woods, there's a certain part of you that needs to be aware at all times. Right? It needs to be open. Right? I need to be able to see peripherally. Well, what's coming off this way? What's moving around that way? I need to be able to recognize these different things. I have to be able to be open, right? Open my gaze. I can't close off my gaze. I gotta open it. So what does that mean? Well, when you set an expectation, right? That means you're in your mind creating a destination, a perception of the destination, right? So what's it going to look like when I reach this point? What's it going to look like when I attain this goal? What is it going to look like? Right? And you'll hear anybody, hey, trees, being tall and shit, who's got branches. While you're doing this, you always seem to forget and take for granted the path and the journey to where you're trying to get. Because you focus your mind so much on where this one goal you want to achieve. And there's two things with it. That can be a gift and a curse. Just like all things. Now, are there some ways that we're supposed to carry expectations? Yeah. Right? Just like you, as you're developing and growing, As you're developing and growing, you gain more knowledge about things. You become more consciously aware of things, right? Once you start to become more consciously aware of things, you then begin to hold yourself to the expectation of that knowledge, right? You begin to hold yourself to that as the normalcy. Just like for people when they learn something's more healthy than not for them, or this and that. You subconsciously will always hold yourself to those expectations. That's why you start to receive and feel like guilt for things, right? How many people carry guilt on their chest, right? Because sometimes they don't act on their knowledge all the time. Look at these flowers. These flowers are beautiful. These are some of my favorites. Right? How many times? All the time, right? Because you set an expectation for yourself. Right? You set an expectation for yourself that, boom. Like I remember when I was like very, very, very on the Dr. Sebi list. Like very much so. I would set the expectation that I had to only eat these fruits and vegetables that were on this list. And if I ate anything outside of this list, even if it was still an organic food meal, even if I was like, if it was like pineapple, I feel guilty. Like, damn, why I eating this pineapple? Fuck, it's not on the list. Something's gonna happen. Something bad's gonna happen. Right? Now, when you create that in your mind, you're taking away all the possibility of what the pineapple could bring to you. Right? Maybe you have pineapple when you're with some friends. Like, we're in the tropics sometimes, and one time we just got like a free pineapple. It was like, yo, I just got a free pineapple. Right, but if I'm setting the expectation like, yo, I'm holding myself to this accountability, bang, and I expect that every time I eat a pineapple, something bad's gonna happen because it's an acid. It's acidic. I'm ruining that moment because in the moment when I'm eating the pineapple with these people, I'm not fully there. I'm not enjoying the moment with them. Now, when it comes to things like this, there are certain things in your life that when you create the proper understanding for, you never, ever, ever will want to break it. And some of these things are really true and cool, right? Like for me, I know I'm one with everything around me. You see all these birds? Right? I know these are different versions of me. These are higher versions of me, essentially. We don't want to admit that as man, right? Man doesn't want to admit that. Modern day man does not want to admit that the bird is a higher version of themselves. They don't want to admit that the dragonfly is a higher version of themselves, right? Because we hold on to this notion of just supremacy in general. Supremacy in general. No matter what color it is, no matter what race or ethnicity. It's only one race, but you guys know what I mean. We hold on to this notion of supremacy all the time. This expectation of supremacy. But within that, we don't really grasp what it means to be supreme. So our expectation will lead us awry and lead us astray in like really attaining the greatness that we possess. Because supremacy, to be a supreme thing, I talked about this in another thing, to be a supreme being is to observe and understand fully your conscious reality. So once I fully understand the genetic coding, once I understand DNA, once I understand ACs, T's, and G's, I start to understand that everything in this reality is just a different version of me. Everything is a part of me because I'm a part of it, because we share parts. Right? Why are cars cars? Because all cars have certain things that make them similar. Right? Why is it? But there's just different versions of cars, right? There's a Subaru, all these bullshit things, right? But that's the same thing as us. That's the same thing as all the living organic matter. That's why organic, the idea of organic, it gets ruined sometimes with the grocery shop and shit. Organic means every living thing. Look at that butterfly. Organic means living thing. Right? So all living things that inhabit this earth have similarities, are the same. We're all the same family. Right? Because all it is different branches off the same family. Like, we want to do Ancestry.com, and you want to track your lineage, right? But you don't really want to track your genetic lineage. Because if you tracked your genetic lineage, you would see that you are the same as everything here. That you share the same components as everything here, but just in a different order. And isn't that just like the problem that we're going through with race relations? Or, I'm sorry, like cultural relations, ethnic relations? Aren't these the same problems that we're going through? Aren't they? Aren't these the same problems that we're going through with these different societies and systems and things like that we've created, right? Isn't that the same thing? Because we're denying parts of ourselves, because we don't want to take on what comes with the responsibility of fully understanding ourselves, right? We like to live in ignorance, right? We like to live ignorance is bliss, right? How many times have people repeated that to themselves? Right? Except with that, we still set these expectations on so many things, right? Like, for example, I talked yesterday about the way I look, right? Because of the way I look, people don't really take me serious and things like that. Because when in their mind they set expectations on what it means to look, what it looks like to be something, right? Like, they set an expectation already, predestined, and not even one that was started by them, created by them, right? When you look at a notion of attractiveness, beauty, right? Beauty, right? Let's think about beauty for a second. Have you created your own construct of what is beautiful or not? Have you created your own construct? Do you in your own eyes and your own mind eye have an idea of what beauty is but for you? Not a construct of beauty that was given to you from a magazine, not all these other these other ways that we try and construct this notion in our mind. But have you ever organically sat down and thought, what is beautiful to me? And when you think about what is beautiful to you, do you then set an expectation on what is beautiful? Or is it like an all-encompassing theory? Right? For me, what is beauty? Beauty is an empowered person to me. Beauty is a natural. Like this field right now. This field is beautiful. But this field happened naturally. Look at the red clover. Look at everything. Right? Look at the dragonflies. This beauty happened on its own. This is natural. This is just untouched. Right? Untouched. But somehow it's so beautiful and breathtaking to look at. All the birds, all the organic things flying around here, all the living, all the life. You hear the crickets. Right? This is vitality and beauty. What is beautiful to you? Now, we get caught up a lot in constructs of beauty that weren't created to us. In constructs of beauty that don't really yield and match with all the different things that we actually find beautiful. Right? Have you ever gone on a hike and you hiked up to the top of the mountain, right? And then you look out. Why is it that view is so breathtaking? But you've been to the top of a building before. Most of us have been high up in buildings before, right? In the concrete jungle, and we've looked out. But for some reason, it's not the same. Do you know what I mean? It's not really the same. Because you see life. You see the trees, you see all these different things. It's beautiful. Some reason it's a beauty that will never be matched in a city. Because there you could feel, it's like you could feel the life in the air. You feel the electricity. Like you breathe in, and what do you feel? The air feels so crisp, right? Now how come you can't get that in a city? Right? But a lot of us, like, will say, like, we want to live in cities, we want to do these different things, we like the hustle and bustle, we like these different things. But a lot of times, are people calm in the cities? Are people communal in the cities? Do people really, like when you're walking down a city street, do you feel that everyone is comfortable, is calm, is in a place that they really love, right? I walk around New York, I walk around Providence, I walk around Boston, and I feel anxiety. Like I feel like there's an anxiousness. I don't feel like there's that peace, right? Have you gone on a hike with people before? When you go on a hike with people, think about the conversations you have. If you go on a walk with someone, you think about the conversations you have. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Because look at this environment. Look at these environments that when you go on hikes, when you go on these walks, when you go and up a mountain, what you're a part of, what you're getting in tune with, right? You ever walked barefoot? Right? Have you ever walked barefoot through a field? If you ever just been outside, just sat barefoot, and you feel some kind of different connection to something greater than you. But it makes you calm for some reason, right? Like when you step into a city, you're connected to something greater than you in a sense, or bigger than you. But for some reason, it makes you anxious. It makes you feel like you gotta do stuff all the time. When I say do stuff, you always want to do stuff in nature. Like me, I'm doing stuff right now, right? I'm looking around. I'm doing stuff. But what kind of stuff are you doing? Right? What kind of stuff are you doing? In the city, what kind of stuff do you want to do? Do you want to go out and drink? Do you want to go to these meet and greets? Do you want to go to a job? Do you want to go to something like this? Like, what are you going to? You going to a gym? Right? Are you going to pay money to go inside a place and walk on something that you could just walk on outside? What is it? What are these things? These are the questions that we gotta start asking ourselves. Man, why? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Why is it that a bird lives for free? But I'm bigger than a bird, right? I'm supposedly more dominant and superior than a bird, right? That's why people create guns and shit, because they think they're more superior than something. So for fun, I can kill a bird. Right? See all those birds? There's like 12 birds right there, just flying around in circles, right? Because that's where all the bugs are, in the middle, right? But some of us humans think that we're so much superior than birds that for fun we can go out and just kill them, take their lives. Does that make me a supreme being? Am I superior because of that? Am I superior because of that? If I'm a teacher in a school, right, and my class walks in, can I just beat my kids and make them do chores for me at my house and do all these different things because I'm again in that reality, in that construct, I'm superior to them? Or does it make that I have more of a responsibility for these kids because I'm superior to them? But that's a construct we gotta start to understand. Everyone be talking about people getting in touch with nature, right? People get at me because like, oh, you wanna be around nature. You don't get it. But I do get it. This is what I am. organically. This is the superior force. This is the supreme being. When we talk about the supreme being, what's the supreme being? The supreme being is nature. The true divining force. Right? The real thing. The real thing. Right? How real is nature? Right? What does nature mean? What does nature do? How am I supreme and more superior than a bird? But a bird never has to go do an arbitrary thing to survive. A bird never has to pay for its home. A bird lives in a tree, never has to pay to live in the tree. A bird doesn't have to go to Planet Fitness to get in shape. Alright? A bird eats you never see a fat bird in the wild. When was the last time you seen a fat bird? Like a bird that was so fat, shit couldn't even fly. When was the last time you seen that? When was the last time you just walked out of your house, you saw a bird chilling on your front step, just fat, couldn't fly? I'll wait. You never have. You never have. Because a bird lives in tune with what is. With what is. It lives in tune. It eats what it should eat. It moves the way it should move. It stays where it should stay. Right? Do you ever see a bird just sleeping suspended in midair with no connection to the ground? You ever see that? You see everywhere, right? There's always some kind of connection to the ground. Why is there always a connection to the ground? Why is that? What do we know about the telluric energy? What do we know about telluric energy? What is telluric energy? Do you know what telluric energy is? What does it mean? What does it mean? Do your research. Once you start to research, how you doing? Nothing. Once you start to research telluric energy, then you start to understand what reality is from a real perspective. Right? Telluric energy tells me that when I touch my feet to the ground, the earth deposits electrons into my body. So when I'm barefoot walking around, I'm getting electrons deposited into my body constantly. What do those electrons do? Those electrons attach themselves to blood vessels and create separation, which allows for better circulation. It allows for homeostasis. It allows for ease. Right? So when that happens, my body goes into a state of regeneration, of healing. But when you sleep in a house, and you sleep on the second floor, you're sleeping like you're suspended in midair. Right? Now, what are the things that are around you in your house? Is there wires that are around you in your house? Electricity, Wi-Fi, all these different things? Exactly. Now, when I touch the ground barefoot, technically Wi-Fi, right, or electrical impulse in the area is sucked out of me. I become base. So my body can listen to itself finally, for the first time. That's why when you lay on the beach, you feel so calm. When you lay on the beach, you feel calm because that's the first and the only time that you actually, for most people, can just get in touch with you. Your body can quiet down for a long time and listen to itself. Right? Because how many people walk barefoot outside? Right? I know not that many, because every time I do it in public, people look at me crazy. I never see someone else walking barefoot with me. Right? I never see anyone else walking barefoot with me. But these are things that we have to start to grasp, right? We gotta start to get in tune with what we are. Get in tune with your star player, nature. Everything that lives in tune with nature never has to do anything out of the ordinary. Literal out of the ordinary, right? Because what we think is ordinary is a conditioned ordinary. How much of it is actually ordinary, right? If we look at the amount of species on the planet, right? Just like we as people, right? We like to follow group mentalities, right? Group mentalities. We're group people, right? Like if everyone like wears shoes, if a big amount of the group wears shoes, everyone's gonna start wearing shoes. Right? The big amount of people, like the whole thing with the way people dress, like I wear a sarong sometimes. Right? People get freaked out when I wear a sarong. Why? Because so many men have now gone to the point of wearing pants. But ancient cultures and stuff, even cultures that still exist today, men will wear dress. Well, dress. Right? But you wear a sarong around people, people will say you're gay. People say you're feminine. All these different things. Most people we look at Irish people, they wear kilts. You can walk around in a kilt, but I can't walk around in a sarong. Why? Why? Because again, we're going by group mentalities. Now, so I take that group mentality. Now let's look at all the living organisms. Look at these flowers here. Beauty. You look at the living organisms that inhabit this planet. All of these living organisms, everything. So let's compare ourselves to the group at large, right? To the group at large, right? The real large group. All the species of things. What's the one thing that's sticking out and not living in tune with what is? What's living against all of this creation? It's definitely not the bees. It's definitely not the birds. It's not the buffalo. What is it? It's not the sloth. What organism is the only organism that is around that is living against itself? That is living against what is? But what is the only organism, with that being said, that's having problem with life? That's going hungry in an abundance? How come why don't you see a fat bird? But you'll see a fat human. But then you'll see another human die of starvation. How many birds do you see die of starvation? How many birds do you see die from man-made things? How many birds do you see die from electrical wires? How many birds do you see die from eating garbage? It's another beautiful area. So with that being said, what is it? What's keeping us in this position that we're in? What's keeping us sick? What's keeping us unhealthy? Have you ever noticed, like I'm in it right now, right? I'm in it. Before you could see, now we're in green now, right? Before you could see some telephone poles and stuff. You can't see anything anymore. Who's ever been this far out in nature and seen how quiet it is? But also how musical it is. Right? How musical are birds? Birds are musical, bro. How musical are all the insects? Look how beautiful. When you're out in nature, it's like you got an orchestra playing for you at all times. Because everything is singing to you. Everything in nature is always singing to you. It's always singing. It's always got a song for you. It's always got a story for you. It's always sharing something with you, right? Look at nature share. Look at the flowers. And if the flowers are nature sharing something beautiful with you, I don't know what else is. If the birds aren't sharing something with you, I don't know what else is. People ask me, why do you want to get out so bad? Because I want to be around this for as much as possible. I want to start with being natural first. And then build. But I want to get natural first. I want to get as close as I can to this lifestyle all the time. And if I can't spend one day, if one day I can't get to this, I want that to be because I was sick. And even if I'm sick, this is where I'd come. Because getting in tune with this, look at how breathtaking this is. Look at how breathtaking this is. These are the types of billboards and advertisement I want to see. I'm tired of seeing billboards and advertisement everywhere. Tired of seeing Dunkin' Donuts signs everywhere I go. I'm tired of seeing McDonald's signs everywhere I go. Because I know what those things represent. Those things don't represent this. The golden arches don't represent this. They don't bring me closer to divine understanding of self. They bring me further away from it. We look at all these things that we create. We look at our greatest poets. We look at our greatest musicians. We look at our greatest philosophers. We look at all our greatest inventors. Nikola Tesla, Einstein. Look at science. It all has to do with nature. It all has to do with the natural world. But why is it that most of your society, most of your men, right? Most of your women, most of your humans, right? Why are we in a place that's of distress all the time? Why is that? Why are we always in a place of distress? Because how much of what we are we connected to on a day-to-day basis? How much of what we are connected to do we get to be around on a day-to-day basis? Because look, how much do we get to be around this? How much? How much you get to be around this? How much you get to spend time in surroundings like this and shut your mind down and ease your mind and just look out and not have to try and understand or put judgment on something. Do you have to put judgment on this? Do you ever have to put judgment on this? Do you have to put judgment on this plant? Never. 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 Once I understand what certain plants do, I never have to judge them. They're just what is. When you see a McDonald's sign, do you have to place judgment on it? Yes, you do. All the time. Why? Because you feel guilt when you see McDonald's. I know I do. Because I know I was eating it at one point. At one point, I was eating McDonald's. Until I actually, really learned about McDonald's. And even when I learned about McDonald's, it took me time to finally accept what I learned about McDonald's. Right? So because of that, every time I see McDonald's, it triggers me. It triggers me here. Because it reminds me of a time that I wasn't being aware. It reminds me of the time that I stepped off my square. It reminds me of all those times that I knew better. I knew better, but I didn't know how to apply it. It's a reminder. Now, if we want to alchemize it, which most of us want to alchemize everything, right? We want to alchemize everything. We'll say, well, didn't McDonald's teach you how to be stronger? It did. Touche, it did. But once you beat a level in a video game, do you go back and walk through the level again? Right? When I beat level 1 in Mario, do I just for shits and giggles go back and play level 1? Unless I'm trying to do something. No. When you beat a level, you're supposed to move on from it. You're supposed to say, yo, fuck that level, I'm past it. Right? Do you ever want to deal with it again? No. Do you want to be around other people? Now again, just like when you're in first grade. Do you graduate first grade and then try and go back to first grade? No. Why? Because you've leveled up past that. Wow, look at this part of the field. When you level up past a third grade, right? Do you go back to third grade? No, why? Because you and the people in third grade don't relate anymore. Right? You don't relate to one another. You're writing cursive now, they're still writing print. You're learning multiplication tables, they're still doing addition, subtraction. You don't relate. Was that a bad thing? Is there a problem with not being relatable anymore? No. Right? No. It just means you have to accept this new version of you. You have to accept that you leveled up. A lot of us don't want to accept that we leveled up. A lot of us don't want to truly level up in reality. Right? We want to stay stagnant because it's comforting. Right? You could tell people as much as you want why McDonald's is bad for them. Right? But some people are going to say, fuck you, I'm going to eat a Big Mac whenever I want. Touche. Touche. Look at this. You guys see the lake? This is someone's backyard. Probably should turn around. But understanding reality. Understanding leveling up. Be easy on yourself. Forget expectations. I put a lot of expectations on myself because I'm critical on myself. Right? I'm critical on myself. I'm a Virgo ascendant. Right? My Mercury is retrograde in Aries in the 8th house. Right? I have a Taurus mindset. I got a Cancer moon. I come off I'm hard on myself. Right? Because I feel a lot. I see a lot. I grasp reality in a way. I've always been someone who's been being told stuff that I was way too young to understand. Right? And that always put pressure on me to hold myself to a certain accord. Right? That's why my moon and my Mars are in the 10th house in Cancer. Because I literally I really have attached myself to my persona, my personal view. The way people see me, I always have that attachment, right? So I've always wanted to give off this composed, protective, nurturing vibe my whole life. Always had that, right? I've always been that. But that's come with a burden on my chest as well. Right? It's come with a burden on my chest. Right? Because sometimes it's hard for me to relate. Because there are parts of me that I used to always deny myself. Right? Because I didn't think it would relate. I didn't think that it was what's needed. Right? I used to let people walk all over me, man. I used to let people walk all over me. Because I was always trying to be the nice person. Instead of being a good person. I would let people put their shit all over me. all on my shoulders, right? I'd be carrying people's shit all the time. Good, bad, I'd be carrying it. If anyone needed to talk, bang, I was always there. But this would weigh on me. This would weigh on my chest. This would hurt. I feel it because I'm an empath, right? So I feel emotions, right? I got moon in Cancer. I feel it already, bruh. I can usually tell just by someone saying hello to me that there's something wrong. Because I'm Virgo ascendant, detail oriented. I peep the detail, all in the details. Got Venus in the 9th house. I love cultures. I embrace and adapt in cultures and higher learning. I'm there. That's it. That's me. So I've always had to learn about these things, even if I wasn't ready for it. Even if I wasn't ready. And it all came through things that had to do with me. Sexuality, understanding like, what's this, what's that, feeling these urges, oh my God, man, not knowing what's up. Life and death, being afraid, right? Being like fucking going crazy. Once I remember before I made my change over to like alkaline and stuff, I was sick. My body was fucked up and I was just like, yo, every day I thought I was gonna die. Literally, I had this stress on my chest. I thought I was gonna die because I was so sick. There was so many things going on with me. I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on here? Right, literally, I changed up my eating habits. I changed up my routine, and all of a sudden, like, fucking 6-7 months later, like, none of it was there anymore. It was like, yo, what the fuck? But I was literally stressing out. I was stressing all the time, right? I was carrying loads for people. I was carrying loads for people in my conscious, because people were always telling me things. People were always seeking me out. Because that's my astrological energy. It's comforting, it's protective. That's there. But I didn't know what that was yet. I didn't know what astrology was yet. So when I would be going through these things, it would drive me crazy. Right? It would hurt. Because I would feel it and hear it, right? Because most people, when you go to them for advice, right? Or you go to them to deal with a problem, when you go to them for these things, they hear you, right? But they know how to differentiate. They differentiate, oh, you from me. Right? But when I hear you, I feel you. When I hear you, I feel you. When I talk to you, I feel you. That's just me. So I could tell when you're trying to hide something from me. I could tell when there's something going on. I already know. I'm just waiting for you to come to the realization and share it. But until then, I'm going to sit and play my position. But that's when it came to loving myself. That's when loving myself started to become so important. Loving myself would become so important because I had to be able to differentiate and separate myself at times from things. I had to learn it was okay. I had to learn it was okay to not always be everything for everybody. And that sometimes you could only be everything for yourself. And not even sometimes, all the time. All the time. Oh, shit, a bird's nest. Oh. That's beautiful. It caught me off guard. Only you could be everything for yourself. That's it. That is it. After that, it's all just noise. And it's all what you can deal with and you can handle. That's a big step. So what you can handle. You're not supposed to handle everything, right? You're only given 2 hands for a reason. If I was only given 2 hands, that means there's only a certain amount of things that I can hold. And just like with that reality, if there's a limitation to the amount of things I could physically hold, right? As above, so below. There's a limit to the things metaphysically that I can hold, emotionally that I can hold. And that's a hard realization to come to when we all think that we all can do everything. Right? We all think that we all can do everything. We all think that every person here should be able to shoulder the world. Yeah, you should be able to shoulder your world. But you can't shoulder everyone's worlds. You can't shoulder everyone's problems. You have to first shoulder all your problems first. You gotta deal with your demons. And once you do that, and once you start to deal with your demons, yo, you find that you become helpful to people just by being you. That all the things that you think you need to do to help people become moot and void. That's what I learned. The second I learned to deal with my pitfalls, and I learned to right the things that were wrong in my life and put things in control, then that changed my way people would receive me because they could feel the difference. There was a difference in the way it felt. Not in what I was saying, right? Because everyone could say things, right? Everyone in this reality can say things. That's why we have the problems that we have. Because everyone can quote things, right? Knowledge is in abundance right now, right? So everyone could say things. But how many people can you actually feel it on them that they've gone through and they've overcome things? Because saying and overcoming and saying and doing are two different things. It's the application part that's the toughest. Not the saying it. Not the saying it. Right? Not the saying it. Like I remember for me, for example, right? People think I am who I was growing up, right? But when I was growing up, I was insecure, man. I was insecure. I wanted to be liked, right? Because I remember when I was in middle school, right? I was like I was always the tallest kid my whole life, right? Really tall. But because I always got picked on because I was always kind of goofy, right? And I was like a little bit like young. I was old in the head, but I was young in a sense. Because like I was innocent. I was like a real innocent kid. Until people were starting to pull it out of me. I'd start to be like older kids wanted to hang out with me all the time. And I was around older people just because I was bigger. Like for some reason I never really fit in with the kids my age. The kids my age used to pick on me crazy. But I was always so nice. That was the thing. I was gentle. I was mild-mannered, right? They used to call me a gentle giant. Right? Because when I played sports, I was one of the best athletes there was, always. Right? But my personal, like me off the court, me off the field, all this was just so nice. Like nice. Like I'd let people pick on me. Right? I let people talk shit about me. I let people do all these different things because I didn't want to really hurt them. Right? There are only a few people in my life that I've actually gotten into altercations with. And a lot of the times, I remember when I was growing up, I was in elementary school. There was a kid up the street named Joey. Right? Joey was a year older than me, but he was like a lot smaller. Right? But the older kid who lived across the street from my grandparents' house, he used to always like want to see me fight Joey. He used to like egg it on. And one day I actually fought Joey. Like I started to hit him. Oh, because we were playing hockey outside. And I just started hitting Joey. And then after I felt so bad, Joey went away crying. And it was like, but that wasn't me. I allowed someone to like juice me to that point. They're juicing me. And all I want to do is to be accepted. And that kept moving, right? When I was in middle school, I was tall. I had braces. I had glasses. Again, I was like the best athlete in the school. Well, one of them. I used to drool because I had so much. When I tell you I had braces, I had spacers. I had freaking gappers. I had all this shit in my mouth. And sometimes when I would talk, I'd drool because there was just so much stuff in my mouth. My salivary glands were overactive. Boom, I'd be drooling. People used to call me droolster. That shit used to irk me, right? I remember I used to have a little unibrow. The girl in front of me in homeroom used to be like, yo, shave that shit, right? So I go home and I shave it. Then I noticed I had little like peach fuzz hairs. Bang, bang. So I started shaving those early. But then all it did is make them grow back thicker. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? So I started to get nervous, man. So here I am already at a young age, just not accepting who I was, thinking that there was stuff wrong with me. Right? Going to high school, the same thing. Now for high school, I ended up going to like a private school. I was academically gifted and I was sports gifted. So I was able to test into the school. Right? Which separated me from all these kids I grew up with. Because don't get me wrong, I still had some friends. Right? Because I was an athlete. So I still had people that I was relatable to within that life. Right? But now here I am going to another school, right? A predominantly wealthy school, right? All wealthy kids, things like this. And here I am, someone who, I'm not going to say we were poor. We weren't poor, right? But I definitely wasn't rich. You know what I mean? We live in an apartment to apartment type of lifestyle, right? I always had enough. But we had it rough, right? Shout out to Tupac. But I go there and it's like I'm trying to relate to these people. I was trying to fit in. My freshman year, I had like 4 friends, and it was all through basketball, right? And when I say friends, I mean people I'd hang out with outside of school. But I always wanted to fit in, right? I always wanted to fit in. To the point where I'd be talking about things I was doing with girls, and girls didn't even like me yet. I'd be telling them about this. I'd be telling people about this stuff my freshman year. I remember a lot of kids do it, but I was trying to fit in. But I was trying to create this persona of me, right? And then later on in life, I ended up just falling into the persona. After halfway through my sophomore year, I made the varsity team that year. I got my braces off, all these different things, right? I grew a little bit. I filled in a little bit more. Then girls are starting to actually look at me for the first time. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to handle it. I wanted to talk to every girl. I was in love with every girl. Then now we jump into my Venus and Gemini, and we jump into my fucking moon in Cancer. I would feel emotionally intense, deep things, but I want stimulation. I'd want more. Like I want to talk to 3 girls, not just 1. And I spend so much time on it that it was like I remember I wouldn't get sleep at night because I'd call up like 3 girls at night. Every night. Because I wanted to fit in as something that I wasn't. Right? And then when it came time for everyone to start partying and drinking and stuff, I hated to drink. Right? I hated to drink. When I was growing up, my family always had wine and shit around and beer. They would always be like, hey, do you ever want a little bit of wine? Blah, blah, blah. I'd had a little bit of wine before, like sometimes at like little dinners and stuff like that, or family parties. My mom would give me little sips of wine and that kind of stuff. But I never really liked it like that. Right? I never really liked it. So I remember one time I went to a party at a friend's house, and before that, I never drank. Right? But it was like everyone was playing beer pong, and it was just like they were going in on me, like, yo, you're not gonna drink, you pussy, blah, blah. And like literally, I just succumbed and then drank. Succumbed to peer pressure. Right? So there's so many times in my life that I've gone through things, and I've gone through these pressures of things, and trying to fit into these molds and these boxes, and because I was always a different kid. I loved anime. I love cartoons. I used to love going to church. Like my mom when I used to go to church, I used to love the Gospels. Bro, I used to love the Gospel. I used to love listening to Jesus, bro. Like the talk of Jesus. I used to love Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I used to love it, man. Like really love it. Old Testament, I didn't really fuck with. It was okay, but like once they got into the Gospels, bro, I love that shit. Love it. I love the stories, bro. I love how real this dude was. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Right? But I didn't like the rest of it. I hated the rest of it. Right? I didn't like the standing up, the kneeling down, all this stuff, sitting in one spot, having to be quiet, not having to be able to go to the bathroom, not be able to talk. Right? But I love the gospel. I loved it. The story was amazing. And I used to love listening to the priest just go in on his sermon to break it down. I used to love that part. right? But I was weird. All the kids around me, they didn't like that shit. They didn't like anime. They didn't like drawing. They didn't like singing. I was in chorus my whole entire, in middle school, I was in chorus the whole time, right? Even if people didn't think it was cool, I was in chorus. I used to go out there and sing. Right, when I was in elementary school, I played the trumpet for a couple of years. Right, I loved this stuff, but all of a sudden it was not cool to people. Right, and I get judged for it. So I didn't want to do that. I was nervous. I was scared. I wanted to fit in. Right, but it changed. It stunned who I was. So now I was someone who was trying to fit into these boxes. But I was always having these moments where I was able to relate to certain things and certain people, and people would appreciate me. But it was because I was something different. And it wasn't until like my sophomore year at college, right? Like my junior, like my girlfriends were my people, right? Because my girlfriends were people who would accept me. Right? I remember having a girlfriend from prep school year, my post-grad year, to my freshman year at college, right? And she was someone who like was my first like real girlfriend, like first real girlfriend. Right? First person who I was like sharing with a lot, like sleeping together. We were doing all this kind of stuff. Like we were spending time, like I was meeting her family, all this. And that was someone who meant so much to me because they accepted me for who I was. Right? Because I couldn't hide from them to a certain extent. And with her, I wasn't trying to like put on a front. Right? I could just organically be who I was. Right? And the thing that ruined that was that I didn't operate the rest of my life in that sense. Right? The rest of my life, I was always trying to fit in. Right? But with her, I could just be myself. But when you do that, two worlds are going to come into a conflict at some time. It's natural. So I was going to eventually reach the point where me and her were going to go through something, a trial. Right? Because two worlds were eventually going to come together. And that just made me break it off, right? Because I still had growing to do. I still didn't know who I was just yet. I was still breaking down and chipping away at all these subconscious programs, all these conditioned programs, all these boxes I was in, right? I was in like 10 cereal boxes at once. I was in 10 cereal boxes at one time. I was the athlete. I was the ladies' man. I was a go-out person. I was this, I was that. I was a funny guy. I was trying to always appease and appeal. Right? All throughout this time, having trouble and struggles figuring out who I was. Right? Liking this kind of hairstyle, but not doing it because people would judge me and this and this and this. And it took me so long. It took me so long. Right? But that was something I struggled with. That was the first one, but that was something I struggled with till like 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago. Because finally, the person who I really was, right? The person who I actually was deep down had finally gotten enough strength to just take over and be that all the time, right? And not care anymore. Because I stopped caring, right? I stopped going out as much. I stopped being around certain people. I stopped doing certain things, but I noticed that just kind of slowly started happening because I started changing up my value system. So certain friends I'd become even closer to, other friends I'd become farther away. And it just kept happening that way. And everything would just change, like real subtle, small changes here, there. Until I got to this point where I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, yo, I'm completely who I am, but I'm completely different. I was completely who I was, right? I finally aligned myself with all the things that I was, but I was completely different. And at that point, I realized that so much was going to change from that point. Because not everyone was going to get me. Not everyone was going to see me the way I saw me. Not everyone was going to understand, right? Not everyone was going to want this version of me. Look how beautiful. Not everyone would appreciate that version of me. And that was hard, man. That was hard. right? That made me resentful for a bit. I was resentful of people. I was. You see a lot of people go through it